Hello from a very rainy London. Now, all this week, the National Book Award in America have been announcing the long lists in their various different categories. And today, on Friday, they have just announced their long list for fiction. So I want to go through this list and discuss the books, but briefly go through the other categories as well. So they have a category for nonfiction and poetry and young people's literature and translated literature, which is really fascinating. So there are books on this long list, such as On the Calculation of Volume and Hunchback and We Do Not Part by the most recent Nobel Prize for Literature winner, Han Kan. So I've read all of these books and all three of those books and think they're really fascinating. And there are other books on this translated literature list I really want to read as well, especially We Are Green and Trembling, which is, a book that I've been really meaning to get to. I meant to read for Women in Translation Month in August, and I just didn't quite manage it, but I've read another book by this author before, and yes, I do prefer the UK cover, sorry. So I'm really looking forward to getting to this as well. Now, for the fiction long list, it is chaired by Ramon Alam, and I've read multiple books of his, so that's really cool that he's the chair of judges. They had 434 books submitted for this category, an incredible amount. And I've been looking at various people's wish lists for the National Book Award. I haven't made my own wish list because I just thought it'd be too difficult to come across. Although two books I was really hoping to see on the list was Fox by Joyce Carol Oates, because she's won the award in the past and it's been a long time since she's been nominated. And this is a really fascinating, very dark new novel, but yeah, really excellent one. And at 87 years old, Joyce Carol Oates is still publishing so many books and still has a full-time teaching schedule. She is incredible. But also Buckeye by Patrick Ryan I was really hoping to see on this list because I read this novel recently and I'm completely obsessed with it. I think it is so brilliant, and I just made a video, posted it yesterday, that I about how much I love it. Now, for the 10 books on the actual fiction long list, so they have done something where they go through and they kind of group the books together in their descriptions of the titles. And so I'm going to read through these descriptions because I think they describe the books much better than I possibly could, because I have only read one of the books out of the 10 on the long list, which is Susan Choi's Flashlight, which is also currently on the Booker Prize long list. And so I made a whole video talking about this novel as well, and why I thought it was such a fascinating book. And Susan Choi is also the only author on this long list who has won the prize in the past for her novel Trust Exercise, but several of the other authors have been nominated and honored by the National Book Awards before. And on this list, there are 2 debut novels, and there's 1 short story collection, which is by Joy Williams. So I'm going to go through the descriptions of all of these books. So they say, 2 of this year's titles grapple with parental loss, coming of age, and the push and pull of memory and history, spanning decades, continents, and continuously shifting between points of view. Flashlight follows the life of a woman whose father mysteriously disappeared one night by the sea when she was 10 years old. That catastrophe echoes through Louisa's adulthood in Susan Choi's latest novel, which examines geopolitics and the family secrets that can irrevocably change our lives. And I think that is a very apt description of the novel. I've heard from various different readers that they struggle somewhat with this book because there are 3 essential characters primarily that the novel follows, maybe 4, but 3 primarily at the core of this family. And these are all quite spiky, not the most likable characters, but they are written purposefully so. And there's certainly a lot to empathize with these characters. They are struggling with numerous different issues, and they struggle to stay together as a family unit. I mean, especially as the father disappears, and the whole mystery behind that, how that plays out in the novel. I think it's so fascinating, but how it uncovers this past about national strife, and so this novel looks at so many different issues, but also getting into the gritty detail of these characters' lives. I came to feel really close to all of them. And I think this is an excellent novel. Now, they go on saying fatherhood reverberates in multi-generational timelines in Kevin Moffett's debut novel, Only Son, when a man discovers his late father's travel journal 25 years after his death. The narrator decides to take his own son on a road trip to retrace his father's steps in an intimate journey that transforms his relationship with his son, the memory of his father, and his own self-identity. Now, I know many readers are very divided on the kind of road trip novel. And I know there's a member of my book club who absolutely hates road trip novels. Personally, I generally tend to quite like them. I think there are some really excellent examples of them in the past. And so I would be up for this debut novel. Continuing the theme of healing from parental trauma, two 2025 Longlisters explore mother-son relationships. Rabih Alameddine's The True Story of Raja the Gullible and his mother tells the tale of a Lebanese family across 6 decades, from the Lebanese Civil War to the COVID-19 pandemic, with humor and heartbreak. A gay 63-year-old high school philosophy teacher who shares an apartment with his prying mother, Raja, enthusiastically accepts when he is offered a fully funded writing fellowship in the US, only to later realize that an opportunity would force him to confront the very secrets he thought he'd left behind. And I hadn't heard that Alameddine has a new novel out, but I'm very eager to read this because I've read his previous novel, The Wrong End of the Telescope. I thought this was a really original and fascinating book. The story this tells, and the way it gets into the complex detail of its central character's life. I thought this novel deserved a lot more attention, so I'm really looking forward to reading more by this author. It goes on to say, in Tokyo, Palaver's unnamed narrator works as an English tutor and spends the evenings with his friends at their neighborhood's gay bar. Estranged from his family in Texas, he is surprised to find his mother on his doorstep weeks before Christmas. Together again, mother and son share meals and conversations spanning decades and borders, from Houston to Jamaica to Japan, as they struggle to understand and ultimately forgive one another in Bryan Washington's latest novel. Now, I have almost an eerie sense that I've read this story before, but I think these locations and this kind of family dynamic are things which Bryan Washington has covered in his fiction before, and I've read his debut novel, and so I think I'm getting kind of echoes of that, but I'm sure he handles it in a different way, where, some authors, they have kind of the meat of their subject matter that they work and rework in many different ways throughout different novels, and explore similar ideas and themes, locations, and characters in a number of different ways. And it kind of sounds like that's what Bryan Washington is doing in his novel. And I would be eager to read this, especially to see if is this kind of the same thing which he's done before, or has he handled this in a really exciting new way. And I did really enjoy his debut novel, so I would be eager to read this. 2025 fiction longlisters consider human-driven environmental destruction through folklore, dystopia, and historical events. Across the 11 stories in The Pelican Child, readers meet twin sister heiresses compelled to commit a violent crime, the ghost of a man intent on visiting the childhood home of the late Susan Sontag, and the Pelican Child, who lives with the Slavic folklore character Baba Yaga. So, Joy Williams' story collection presents us with a cast of characters determined to make sense of the people and world around them, while simultaneously wreaking real and imagined harm. That sounds really fascinating. I've read some of Joy Williams' short stories in the past. I think she has this real perceptive way of like getting into her characters' lives, and so yeah, I'd be interested to read this new collection. In A Guardian and a Thief, a family has secured coveted climate visas to the United States, but on the day of their flight, they wake to discover their passports have been stolen. Set over the course of 1 week in a near future Kolkata, devastated by food insecurity and climate change, Megha Majumdar's novel tells the story of two families asking just how far we might be willing to go to protect those we love. And I'm so excited because I hadn't heard that this author has a new novel out. I read a previous novel of hers, A Burning, which I thought was so powerful. It's a very dark book, but it handles honestly its subject matter. In A Burning, there is a tragic incident, and she shows in that novel the way that this incident and this tragedy is brought into politics and politicized in a number of different ways. And we see this happening time and time again. We've seen this just this week. So yeah, I think she is such an exciting and insightful author. So I'm really excited to get a copy of her new novel. Karen Russell's The Antidote is set in a Dust Bowl era fictional Nebraska town on the brink of collapse, bracing against the forces of the Great Depression, weather catastrophes, and the community's violent histories with indigenous people and the land. A prairie witch offers the town's residents a solution to their worries by safeguarding their darkest secrets in her own body. But a question remains: how long can we avoid the truths of our past and of harm caused? Now, I've been seeing this novel in bookshops a lot. I keep seeing it like out on tables, and I've been so curious about it. And so, yeah, I would like to read this historical novel. In North Sun, or the Voyage of the Whaleship Esther, the crew of the Esther sets out in 1878 with two purported goals: to embark on a whaling journey in the waning days of the industry, and to find a ship and its captain before they're lost to the sea. The Seafaring Saga by Ethan Rutherford follows a ragtag crew led by Arnold Lovejoy. As the true purpose of their journey comes to light, the cast of characters must scrutinize their own environmental destruction, contend with the unnecessary deaths of humans and animals alike, and consider the lives they've left behind on solid land. Now, if you may or may not know, but I love a good seafaring journey, and so yeah, I'm so up for going out into the ocean in this historical novel. And also, this is published by Deep Vellum Press, a really cool press. They brought out books like Solenoid by Mircea Cartarescu, which is one of my favorite novels in recent years. So yeah, I'm so up for this. In two longlisted novels, timelines span decades as characters grow together and apart through interconnected storylines. The Wilderness follows a group of 5 millennial Black women over the course of their 20-year friendship. Angela Flournoy captures the quintet from young adulthood to midlife as they navigate personal loss, seek community in their quickly gentrifying cities, and attempt to balance careers, romantic relationships, and motherhood alongside their friendship. Okay, that sounds really interesting. I've never heard of this book before, and it's partly why I love following book prize lists because I'm introduced to so many books that I've just really not come across before. But also, being here in the UK, a number of these titles they're more US centric and might not actually have come out here in the UK or got as much press as they have in America. Jonas Hassen Khemiri's family epic spans half a century and revolves around the lives of the Mikola sisters, the daughters of a Tunisian carpet seller and a Swedish father who abandoned them when they were young. Their story is narrated from afar by Jonas, the son of a Swedish mother and a Tunisian father, who helps the siblings break free of the curse that has threatened them from birth in the sisters. I love a good family epic story, as I've talked about in a number of books that I've read recently. So yes, I would be keen on this too. I think it's quite a long novel, so I'm not sure when I'll be able to get to it, but yeah. That sounds really good as well. I mean, this is kind of the danger of following a lot of book prize lists too, because I already have, reading stack this high, and now I have more books that I want to add to the list. But I'm certainly hoping that I'll get to some of these books before the shortlist and the winner is announced later this year. So I would love to hear if you have read any of these books, or if you are excited or interested to read any of these books as well. And what do you think of the list as a whole? Were there any books that you were really hoping to see on this fiction long list? Or if you read books from the other long-listed titles in other categories that you would really recommend that I get to. There's a number of books in the other categories that I'd like to read as well. But thank you for watching me go through this list, and it'll be really exciting to discover some of these titles. But I hope you're doing well and it's dry wherever you are. At least you're able to stay dry inside. I just got soaked coming back from the gym. But I was really excited to discover the National Book Award fiction long list on my phone, and was hurriedly looking through it and ooh, what is on there? But have a good weekend, and I hope you're reading good things, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye bye.